So I stumbled upon this interesting YouTube by Caleb Hammer. He basically does a show where it seems like it's a podcast and they put it out in video format on YouTube, and it's a financial audit of what seems to be a lot of people who have pretty bad financial literacy and bad budgeting and saving habits. Now, I very much enjoy personal finance, and the audit that he did in this video that I'm going to react to is with a soon to be medical student. So it's a pre-med, and you could tell her finances are a little bit out of whack already. And as you know, many doctors are not the most well known for having great financial habits. And so I think it would be interesting to blind react to this video. We'll see what advice Caleb gives and what advice I would give as someone who's in the medical field and has a passion for personal finance. So with that said, I'm going to skip about halfway into the video where they start talking about medical school and her spending habits, and we'll go from there.
And it sends like brand emails and like things like that.
But you don't need this, right?
No, I just do it for fun.
I wouldn't. Just don't. Refund it. Get a refund. Stop. The main reason is because we have stupid expensive medical school coming up.
Yeah.
And the way you spend and manage your money, you are going to be the classic broke doctor.
Well, like I was planning on
Shots
fixing
fired.
it.
So I wouldn't say classic broke doctor. I actually don't think that most doctors are broke. Some doctors do get themselves into trouble, especially when you're a resident. You're not making as much as most people think. And then if you're an attending, you finally have that huge pay increase. Sometimes it's 3, 4, even 6 to 7 times higher than what you were making in residency. And so you can really get this lifestyle creep that happens where you take on a mortgage, you get a new car, you have kids you have to pay for, and the money goes a lot faster than you think. And so there are even doctors that make a high income, but they're still living more of a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, which is not a good thing. And that's why it's important to get your financial habits in line early. However, I wouldn't say like classic broke doctor, like all doctors are broke, but doctors are not as rich as people might think, especially if they don't manage their money properly.
Just like,
That's not how that works.
yeah, I know.
You don't just future plan to, I plan to maybe sometime do this. No, you have to do it.
Yeah.
What kind of doctor are you going to be?
Orthopedic surgeon. Well, it started as pediatric neurosurgeon, and now it's changed to orthopedic surgeon.
Okay, so you're going to be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
What's the average?
So, I mean, maybe this girl will become an orthopedic surgeon. I hope she does. I also went into medical school thinking I wanted to do orthopedic surgery, and then ended up deciding last minute that that was not the path for me. At my medical school, I'm pretty sure I had like 10 peers of mine, all of which we said early on in med school, we're going to go into orthopedic surgery. And then only one of them ended up going into orthopedic surgery. And that wasn't because we weren't competitive enough to get in. I mean, it is definitely a competitive field, so that does deter people from going into it as well. As you move on through medical school, you realize that. But also you just have to want to really do it. And once you get into clinical rotations, you see other things that you might like and resonate with more. And so a lot of people go into medical school thinking they want to do one thing. And I'd say over 50% of the time, they end up choosing a different specialty. Now, that's not always the case, but for example, for me, I'm going into PM&R, which is more like non-operative sports medicine, which is what I want to go into. You do PM&R residency and then a fellowship. And I felt like that was a lifestyle and a specialty that I ended up resonating with more. So a lot of people, I laugh because everyone says orthopedic surgery or dermatology or plastic surgery, but a lot of people that say that going into medical school do not end up actually going into that career path. And so those are high income specialties. So if you're going to make financial plans around that, you may want to always just be a little bit conservative with what you might actually go into.
I have no idea. I've never looked into that.
Say it again. Orthopedic surgeon?
Yeah.
You're probably going to be making like $300,000, $400,000 a year.
Probably more.
Well, orthopedic salary ranges from, well, I guess it depends on the website. Maybe even 500.
I think it just depends on like where you are, like which hospital.
It's going to be good money. You could be making up to like $500,000 a year, if not even more, which is good. But this medical school debt that you're going to be taking on here very soon, I assume, right?
No, I won't be going to medical school debt. I won't have medical school debt. My dad and I made a deal that if I paid for my first year of college, because I was out of state student, because I'm from Chicago originally. So I paid for my first year of UT, and then I got in-state tuition, and my dad's paid for the rest of it. And so now the rest of my modeling account is going to go into my medical.
Okay, well,
school.
that's $50,000.
But he's also taking the rest of it.
What does he do? That's a lot of money. That's
He's an attorney.
a few $100,000. So he's a
He has
successful.
He has his own law firm. Yeah.
So a very successful attorney. Okay. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's really good. That's going to give her a leg up for sure. But with that said, like, in the grand scheme of things, I know loans are ridiculous. Like, I had over $200,000 in loans that I took out to pay for medical school, or maybe slightly less because I use a lot of my own income as well to pay for medical school. So I might have taken out slightly less than 200. But in the long run, if you're smart with your finances, there's a lot of different ways to pay back those loans. So you could end up being in a great financial situation like she is, getting medical school paid off, yet 10 years down the line, be in a worse financial situation if she doesn't properly maintain her finances and her spending habits than someone who had to pay off their own loans. Because someone who's paying off their own loans, you generally have to learn really quick how to get control of your finances and have good habits. Now, that's not always the case. I know people that just continue to defer payments and build up lots of interest on their student loans, which I don't agree with as well. But you can do loan forgiveness programs. If you work, for example, for 10 years at an affiliate institution that you'll qualify for loan forgiveness, then you just have to keep up with the minimum payments that you're required for 120 full payments. You can refinance. There's a lot of different things that you can do.
So that is a very different situation than I thought we were going to walk into.
No. We had made this deal like a long time ago. He was like, I'll pay for one or the other. And I was like, how about this? Because I knew that like UT out of state is a lot more expensive than in state.
Okay, very cool. And then how are you going to be sustaining yourself throughout medical school? That's where I wish that $50,000 was going.
Is hopefully, well, I have my boyfriend and he's a chemical engineer.
Can't rely on that. Not married.
I know that. Also modeling.
You're going to have time in medical school? Mm-hmm. Okay.
There's a lot of people that do it. Like a lot of people, like that's what everyone says when I tell them I'm gonna do modeling and I'm gonna do medical school, and they're like, you sure you're gonna have time for that? And I'm like, yeah, I know a lot of people who do it, and everyone said the same thing. As long as you tell your agent what you have going on, like you just talk to your agent.
I mean, if you're working your butt off, you can do anything. So.
Right. And like I have no...
That's true. I built up my whole tutoring company while in medical school. If you're passionate about it, you can do it. With that said, it depends on your situation whether you should be involving so many extracurriculars. Like if you're not doing well in school, your grades should come first in medical school. That's got to be your primary focus. But I don't imagine that the modeling and other things like that take up so much time that you can get an income from there. Clearly, she has money saved up. And what a lot of people do, though, is if you have to take out loans for medical school, you take out a little bit of extra loans each semester and you use that to fund your lifestyle. It's just the reality. You have pretty good terms with these medical school loans. They're generally at like a 5 to 6% interest rate, and you have a very long time to pay it back, as well as possible forgiveness. So take advantage of that. For a lot of students, they ask, should I work a job in medical school? If you're really passionate about something and you want to do it, like great. But if you're struggling or you want to just make sure medical school is your primary focus, which most people should, just take a little bit of extra in loans if you're taking out loans and use that to fund your lifestyle so you're not constantly stressed about studying for school and working 2 jobs. It's not recommended, at least by me. Everyone has their own opinion on this, but if you're taking out loans anyway, the extra $5,000, let's say you take out a semester, is not going to make a difference in the long run if you're smart with your finances later on in life, especially when you have that high attending salary.
Problem working. I like working.
Good.
So I don't have an issue with that. That, and then also you're usually working in the hospital.
Right.
During medical school.
Well, and then residency, but I mean, residency doesn't pay great.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay, if you're working in the hospital as a medical student, you're not getting paid for that. During my 3rd-year rotations, free labor. 4th-year rotations, free labor. Now, of course, you need to be taught. You don't always know what you're doing, and so there's a give and take. But I have some opinions on paying full tuition during your 3rd and 4th year when you're not really utilizing, in my opinion, the same cost that you're paying in terms of resources. But running a medical school is expensive as well. It is a business in a sense. Don't let people tell you otherwise. And so that's just the way the system works, and so you're going to be paying full tuition your 3rd and 4th year. There are some schools now that are actually going to only 3 years, which I think is great. You can definitely do medical school in 3 years because your 4th year is mainly just doing some rotations in the specialty you want to go into and fulfilling some last minute requirements that if you planned accordingly, you can definitely get med school done in about 3 to 3.5 years, and that's why there are some programs that allow that.
Graduating this year, then a leap year, and then it's going to be what is it? It's like 5-6 years.
4 years medical school, and then another 4 years of residency.
Well, if she's going to do orthopedic surgery, it's 5 years residency and then probably 1 year fellowship if she wants to do a fellowship. But generally, you're going to make a resident salary for 3 to 7 years, and then you'll get that attending salary.
So 8 years. Okay, wow. Yeah. And then you'll be making that good monies. The way you live your life is in a way where you could be bringing in $400,000 a year right after you graduate.
Yeah.
And $400,000 a year will be gone.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's not good.
No.
So are you ready to correct the root cause when it comes to all that? Because that's the glaring red flag in this conversation.
Right. That's why I was like, yeah, I just need someone to like yell at me to be like, you need to stop this.
Well, that'll work for maybe a month, but then it just comes down to discipline.
Yeah.
The way that I think works for you to train the muscle of budgeting, I don't think this works as well for our generation, because for us, our money is what it says on our accounts, on the apps, on our phones and stuff like that. So cash does not work for me. That being said, I think something you might consider is the envelope system, which was invented and talked about in the early 1900s.
I think like my biggest thing is I need to like handwrite things, because I've tried like the finance budgeter like on Excel sheets.
Exactly.
And, like,
well, that's why I think the cash is going to work
Right.
for you, the envelope system. So
my only problem with that is like,
you know the envelope system?
yeah, where you like save certain things but like I don't get cash.
Okay, well, that's why I think it's something worth experimenting with. Because again, you have access to all. When I spend $1, I don't feel it. But if I see something tick down on my account balance, like on my phone, then I'm like, ugh, terrified. But if we get you to a situation where obviously leave some buffer in your checking account,
Right.
have rent automatically taken there, but the money that we do for rent, the money that we are using for food, for any clothing, any gas, any going out, anything like that, because you don't have a crazy amount of debt, so we don't have to freak out and like pay off a bunch of stuff, because we just need to make
Right.
sure you're not going into debt.
Right.
You take that allocated amount of money that fits within a budget that you create, put those into envelopes, and you write on there groceries. All the grocery money that you spend comes from that envelope that month.
But like,
If
I
all
do
of a sudden that's
Amazon
gone-
Fresh, so like, how am I supposed to pay cash for groceries?
What do you mean?
I do Amazon Fresh for all my groceries.
Well, to better budget yourself, we're going to go to a grocery store.
I don't have a car.
Oh, you don't have a car.
I Uber.
Where do you live?
West Campus.
Okay, well, you can walk to a grocery store. Target's right there.
That Target marks up their prices because it's on campus.
Dude, you got to figure out a better way to budget. We can't just be making excuses. I know in that area.
Those are excuses, but I'm not the biggest fan of this cash system. I think that it's a good idea in theory, but in today's world, it's just so practical to be able to use your credit card and pay online for things that, if, for example, she's saving time by using Amazon Fresh or whatever she said in terms of the delivery service, then she shouldn't have to stop doing that to hopefully budget better, and maybe she's going to be paying more for groceries. What I like doing is try to set up your accounts in an automated way. So when you get a paycheck, a certain amount is going into a savings account that you can't touch. A certain amount is getting automatically invested. A certain amount is going into your checkings account. A certain amount is going into retirement. And you do this automatically. So for example, if you're automatically putting money into retirement, the second it hits that retirement account, you now cannot take it out without incurring a penalty. And so you're not going to take it out. So that's what I like to do. And therefore, sometimes I'll look at my checking account, it's lower than I'd like it to be. But then I realize there's a lot of money that I have saved away in other places because I never even got to see that money come in. And so I didn't have to worry about it. And you can definitely do that. Most big banks, if you're using, Chase or investment sites like Schwab and Vanguard, you can do these types of automatic payments, transfers, etc.
Well,
You can walk or even take a bus to a grocery store.
Yeah. I've gone with my friend a couple times.
We can find a million reasons not to do something, but
But it's
this
also
is a potential
cheaper
solution.
to get groceries on Amazon Fresh than it is at HEB.
I just am concerned that you continue to use Amazon Fresh. You're just clicking the button. You're just clicking the button. You're just clicking the button. We're not budgeting. You've even said just a couple minutes ago, you've done the whole Excel spreadsheet thing. You've done the whole budgeting app
Yeah.
thing, and it doesn't work for you. So this is a solution. You can find a million reasons not to. This is something worth trying.
That's fair.
So you only spend in those categories what is written on there. And if all of a sudden you look in there and there's only $1 left, you only have $1 left for that category. You do not cross envelopes. You don't pull from your checking account. That is how to at least build that bone or that muscle. Once you have it after hopefully just a couple or few months, then sure, we can transition to having the budget be a budgeting mobile app of your choice or an Excel spreadsheet, and you only spend what's in that category. What I fear for you is that does not exist yet. That mindset does not exist, and it's been proven here. You've self-admitted that.
No, it's tried. I tried it and it just doesn't work.
That's why the envelope system, I think, works for you specifically, because it'll help build that muscle memory in your brain.
That's fair. I
could tell you could tell she's not sold on it at all. If you don't want to do something, it's not going to be a good system for you. I don't think this is going to be a good system for her based on, I guarantee if you follow it up, if you want to reach out, I bet you she did not use the envelope system, or maybe tried it for a week and then stopped using it, which again is not necessarily her fault. It's the same thing with teaching. When I teach students and do tutoring, I try to figure out a way I could reach that student. It doesn't mean that certain systems don't work. For example, when I talk about study strategies, active recall, spaced repetition, these are strategies that work, but the way you teach material and the way you try to reach people to get them to buy into the strategies has to be tailored to each person and how they want to receive that information.
I don't know. I don't have cash for anything. I don't receive
You'll
cash.
be taking from the ATM. You'll be going to the bank, taking out monies.
But my problem with going to the ATM is I'm Wells Fargo. There's no Wells Fargo ATM, so then I have to pay a 3% withdrawal fee.
There's not a Wells Fargo even
ATM on campus. They closed it down.
Maybe we switch banks. No one likes Wells Fargo anyway.
But that's a lot of work.
No, that's not. It's incredibly easy. What are you talking about? You know how easy it is to open a bank account?
Yeah, but then you have to switch everything over. And
Oh, we're finding a billion reasons not to again. What do you want to do? Do you want?
I don't know. I don't love his approach. I think it's a little bit reprimanding, even though she did say, I need someone to scream at me. And she is finding an excuse for everything. But I think she should have just said, this idea I don't like, I'm not going to do it. What other ideas do you have? But that's just my 2 cents.
To be in a place where when you're making $400,000 a year, all of it's gone?
No.
Because that's what it's going to be like unless you create some discipline.
Well, I don't think I would be that bad.
What do you mean? There's no example of you not being that bad.
I think, for me, my mindset is
That's true. So people are like, oh, well, when I make a lot of money later on, it won't be as bad because I'm going to have a lot more money. But what happens is you just find more things to spend on. If you don't have the good habits now, just because you make more money doesn't mean there won't be lifestyle creep. And then, the $1,000 expenses become $5,000 expenses. The bigger house, bigger payments, things can creep up easily.
Well, this is the first year that I've actually made money myself, that I can see money coming in,
and it's all gone.
Yeah, so I think I just need to learn where to draw the line, because
how do you learn that? Maybe through something called an envelope system.
Yeah, but tangible cash, I don't think that would do it for me.
Well, at least try it. If it doesn't, then you can find something else that works. But what you've already self-admitted is you've tried the budgeting apps, you've tried Excel sheet, so we go to the next best thing.
Well, so I got this financial planner that I have to handwrite things, because I think that's my issue is I need to physically see it, because if I'm just typing it, then it's just a number on a computer. So I think I have to
So what are you doing on this planner? Are you just writing down what you're spending and tracking it that way, or are you setting what you're allowed to spend on specific categories?
Both. So
okay, and then it's clearly not working because we have the example now.
I just started it. I just got the planner yesterday.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's where the $1,000 is coming in with me and my friends is we have $1,000 a month.
Do you have it with you?
I don't.
That's okay. Then tell me your categories. Tell me your categories and the amount you're allowed to spend on those categories.
Okay, we have food.
Which is groceries?
Yeah.
Or going out to eat?
Both.
Nope.
Well, so
those are separate. Nope.
How are they separate?
What do you mean? You need it because groceries and going out to eat are separate. Going out to eat is such more expensive that you could completely throw the category on just a meal.
I have a meal plan.
What's your meal plan?
Factor.
Okay.
So
well, that's not going out to eat though.
Right.
I put that, but I'm saying if you're going to if you go to a random restaurant and drop $100, we do not include that in the same category as
But I don't really
groceries.
do that. I don't go out to eat. If I do, it's to a coffee restaurant.
Still, they are separate categories.
Okay.
How much is in this food category?
$450.
Okay, that's not crazy. Okay, $450. Continue.
I have $50 for Uber.
All right.
I have $250 for like medical miscellaneous, and then $250 for like clothing and like wants.
$250 on medical, is that common on a monthly basis?
No, I just like have it just in case. It's like
If you're playing insurance, it's actually higher.
like not only medical, it's like miscellaneous. Like if I need, like if I went to a doctor because like I got sick and like I needed to go get a prescription or something like that.
How common is that?
Well, like I usually spend about $60 prescription a month. So
Then I would just do that.
well, because
what we're
also
doing
like
here.
January, like I haven't gone to the doctor in a really long time. So like I just like scheduled all of my appointments. So like that $250 is like that as well.
Okay. On a monthly basis, for our monthly budget, we put what's ongoing for our base budget, what's ongoing. Now, when we're coming up to the next month, if we know there's going to be a doctor appointment, we put that into the budget and we see what has to be moved around in order to incorporate that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's $250 every month.
No.
We say whatever it was for subscriptions or prescriptions. And then if we know a doctor appointment is coming up, which if this month it is, then you just,
I think I have like
you put that
4
aside.
doctor's appointments.
Okay, perfect. And so the $250 makes sense. Rent again, $1,500. Okay. Any other categories?
No.
So that's $2,500 a month. If you can stick to it, that's great.
That's
because
the
it's
goal.
like half your money.
Right.
I'm okay with you spending $250 on wants in this case. I mean, that's okay. Now the question becomes, when there's an outfit.
Yeah, it is important to have something budgeted for just things you're going to want to buy, because if you are too restrictive, then a lot of the times you're just going to end up blowing past that number and being like, I couldn't hit my budget, so I'm just going to keep spending more. It's the same with restrictive dieting. If you restrict yourself too much, you'll see people end up binge eating and overeating into a surplus.
But that you want, I mean, you were dropping hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars in the 1 month that we looked. What happens? $250 and you see a $300 dress that you want. What happens?
Well, so like if I don't spend it 1 month, then like it rolls over to the next month. So like if I don't spend the $250
month,
then
well,
like the next month I'll have like 5.
Sure, you can make that work. But what I'm saying is, in the month you have $250. There's a $300 dress. What do you do?
Well, I wouldn't buy a $300 dress.
$300, whatever, it doesn't matter. $300 want. What do you do?
Then I would buy it and just give myself a $200 next month.
No, absolutely not. No, you don't loan yourself money from the next month. That doesn't make sense.
I guess.
You can save up and get it the next month, or you can cut 50 from your food if you really want to. You can move things around in a budget. I don't know if that's going to be productive for you. That's usually for more disciplined people, because it starts giving you excuses to do things.
That's fair, yeah.
But no, you absolutely do not just, okay, now I just have 200 next month. That becomes so dangerous.
Yeah.
That is so dangerous, especially in your situation, spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. No, in this budget that you're creating, if something is over 250 or multiple items equal over 250, you don't do it that month.
Okay.
You set some of it for next month. I'm okay with $250 on wants on a monthly basis. Just don't go above that. If that's what if these are the categories that you set and you just disregard them in what they're there for, then there's no point. The budget's broken.
Yeah, I know. Which is the problem with when I did like the Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. So try this. Let's see.
And most people are going to do that. That's why I like the automatic investing option, where a lot of the money is either just going into a savings account you can't touch, into an investment account that you can't touch. Usually that's what I find. Like if it's in even a savings account, you can technically move money. Let's say you have a checking and savings in Chase, but I put my investments in Charles Schwab and my retirement accounts at Charles Schwab. Once money gets to there, I'm very rarely, if ever, going to take it from Charles Schwab to Chase so then I could withdraw it or use it for payments. So that's how I like to set it up. I feel like this would be a good option for her, maybe. I mean, budgeting is important to have have a loose budget, but you don't want to have super confined budgets because, like I said, you're going to have to go over those budgets at times, and it's going to drive yourself crazy. If you spend $10 more than the budget, you've done something bad. Or every decision you have to make, you're worried, do I have enough budget in my food budget this month to get this or go out for this dinner? I don't like to live that way. It is important, of course, if you are restricted in terms of the amount of money that you have. Of course, you don't want to be frivolous with it and over the top with your spending, but strict budgeting, I find for most people, is not good. It is important, like he says here, to build the habits so that way you're close to what you need to do, and that way when you come into more income as you move up in your career, you have those good financial habits from early on.
If it works, we'll see in a few months. And then again, my concern is once you start making a lot more money in quite a few years, in almost like a decade, you're going to just lifestyle inflate yourself like crazy. You're just going to be spending, spending is going to increase to where that money is.
I think also my problem is I get bored a lot. And when I go bored, I go online shopping. Mm-hmm. So like when I am a doctor and I'm in medical school, I won't be as bored as much because I'll be so busy. Because I
hope so.
Or you're just going to use it as an outlet when you're stressed, which happens for sure.
What I've noticed is my spending gets really bad when I'm bored.
Yeah. We definitely need to find different outlets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something you're just going to have to work on.
Yeah.
With yourself, finding different outlets. Because, I don't know. I think you're going to lifestyle inflate yourself. You said you have $10,000 in a something account. What's that in? What is that invested in? Where's that money from?
It's Charles Schwab. It was from my dad was putting it in there when I was from my modeling account.
Do you know what it's invested in?
No idea.
Okay.
He gave it to a financial advisor and said, here you go.
So this money that you're saving up over the next year that you're taking a gap year, is that money paying for colleges or grad school for medical school, or is it just, are you saving it up so you can use it throughout medical school to sustain yourself?
It'll be for rent and for things like that.
Okay, cool. I would try to put your best projections for it. Are you accepted into a medical school?
No, because I'm doing a gap year, so I haven't even applied yet.
Right. Okay, because we'll want to know the area and everything, and then you'll want to make projections, because I would like to start getting your investing muscle building as well. If we can start putting money, I would get that Charles Schwab. It's probably in your name. I don't know. Try to get control of that. Meet with a financial advisor who will help you get into good investing accounts, probably something like a index target retirement fund, something like a 2060 retirement fund, 2070. Essentially, it starts more aggressive. It's controlled through Fidelity or Schwab or something like that. It starts more aggressive and it levels out to more conservative as you get closer to retirement. And then all that you have to think about is just putting in the money. Okay. But you'll sit down with a financial advisor and figure that out. I want you to start that as well.
I have my I don't know what it's called, your retirement fund.
I'm going to do a video on that one day because a lot of those funds, when you look at the annual returns in the end, I just invest most of my money in the S&P 500. I'm more thinking out loud here because I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to change to one of those target funds. But I think if you look at the returns overall, in general, it's very close to the average return of the S&P 500. But what it does, it's a little bit more aggressive early on in your career. And then later on, as you're closer to retirement, it gets more and more conservative, which is good because that's when you don't really need big gains on your money. You're more just trying to conserve your wealth so that you could start withdrawing from those retirement accounts.
Like your
401k?
401k, yeah.
Through the hospital?
Yeah.
How much is in there? What are you doing?
No idea. I do 15% of my paycheck.
15%? Wow.
It was the highest.
Did you ever selected a fund to go into? Because if not, it's just losing money sitting in cash.
Well, it's going into the 401k account.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, it's not losing money this year because this was a bad year. So she would have lost money if she invested it. But most of the time, you should be investing your 401k money. And yeah, I think he's about to educate her on what the 401k is because you put the money into the account, but then it either can stay in cash or you can invest it into different vehicles.
But what fund within the 401k is it being invested into? If you haven't selected anything, it's probably just sitting into
No, it's going into something. It was their automatic thing. I just clicked on.
Sometimes that can be something that's almost just follows cash.
I don't know. I just did that. That's what my dad told me to do. So I just did that.
Okay. Well, what's very clear is that is something it is time to correct. You're going to get control of the Schwab. You're going to meet with the financial advisor. It's worth it. This 401k, you're going to figure it out. You're not going to be there for very long, so you'll want to roll it over to somewhere else.
Right.
you want to figure out what that's in as well, because if this is not making money, it's just losing money from inflation.
Yeah.
This is pointless at that point. I'm glad it's just putting money aside. I mean, that's good instead of just spending it all. But
here's my problem with Caleb's approach, and he seems like a nice guy and he's trying to help, but there's not as much teaching as to why to do something, more just what you should do. And the problem with that is if someone doesn't understand why they're doing something, like I don't think she still understands the difference between 401k money being sitting in a cash account basically, or actually investing, and what these target date funds are and things like that he's mentioning. People are not going to be able to take that advice and actually apply it. So I'd like to see a little bit more education here, but they are covering a lot, and I think he's trying to more do the financial auditing side versus the consulting side. But those are just my overall thoughts.
Think steps from here for you. We test this writing your budget out and following it for a few months, make sure it's working, and then adapt as you need to do. Find better outlets for your being bored, spending money. Once you start applying to medical school, see what the projected next 4 years during the school when you're not making money in residency, what is the rent, what is food going to be like, what do I need to have stockpiled, and then see if you're able to save anything on the side. And then other than that, we're taking control of SWA, we're taking control of the $50,000 in your modeling account, and also understanding your 401k, making sure these are getting put in places that are actually making money. In the $50,000, that since it's going to be put towards school, we'd probably just put it in.
Also, she has a 401k because she's working. I would also, for her specifically, she's probably not over the income limit, and even if she is, she can do a back door. She should open up a Roth IRA account because she could put money in now that's post-tax money, and then later on when she has a higher income as a doctor or whatever she's doing later on in life, she'll be able to take out that money tax-free, and all the gains are tax-free as well.
High yield saving account where it's at least getting 3-4% and not 0.01%.
Oh, it's like the difference between the high yield and regular.
4% versus 0.01%.
How do you do you just go to the bank and say I want to put it in a high yield?
No, you'll just search up high yield savings and open something through Marcus or Ally or a lot of different options. There's a million different options now. Okay. Yeah, and you'll just do that online and you'll just transfer it over just like you transfer anything else. Then my big fear is just the budgeting. You gotta figure. No one's gonna baby you.
Yeah, I know.
You have to figure that out and decide if you want to be an adult or not. So far, not.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
For Alexis, her overall financial situation is not bad at all. Of course, that comes from an extreme place of privilege where her dad is taking care of everything, but that's not a bad thing at all. Of course, he has the finances to do so, and if that's what he wants to do, that's great. In her spending habits, it may have enabled some of her behavior of not really understanding the value of a dollar just because she spends more than she makes. However, I hope and think this budgeting system might be the first one to work for her if she's more of a visual person and writing everything down. So we wish her the best of luck, and we'll follow through in a few months and see if the budgeting has worked and her spending habits have gotten under control. But for now, because there's not a lot of debts, not a lot of bad things, Hammer financial score 6 out of 10. Check out all the fun things in the description, including her socials and my Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, so overall, she is in a very good position right now. It seems like most of her medical school is going to be paid, which is great. I know people are going to maybe hate on her for that. You absolutely shouldn't. She's fortunate that her parents are going to pay for that. Is that fair to other people who have to take out loans? Maybe not, but that's not necessarily her fault. However, I do agree with the assessment. If she doesn't get her financial budgeting under control now, it will be a problem later on. I think she'll be able to ride it out for a while though, because she's got a good amount of money saved up. She's not going to be necessarily paying for medical school. And so really the issue will only be about a decade from now. So she has 10 years to figure out how to get her spending under control, or at least a lower percentage of the overall income that she makes, because you could spend a lot of money if you're making the money and you're properly investing in your 401k, a Roth IRA, or a backdoor Roth IRA. You're maybe putting some money into an individual brokerage account if you have left over, S&P 500. You have money saved for all your expenses, and then anything excess, have fun with it. This life is short. I actually like the book Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. He talks about how there is a balance to not saving too much, because you don't want to die with all this money saved up when you could use it to enjoy experiences throughout your life. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, I want to pass it on. But in the book, he talks about a great anecdote where these parents, or this mother who didn't help out her daughter who really needed the help financially because she was saving, but then left the daughter about 10 years later with all this money. But at that point, the daughter had figured it out and was able to get herself out of this hole, but really could have used the money earlier on. So I do like to strike a balance with spending the money, enjoying myself. I'm not too strict with my budgets. honestly, and I definitely use money, but I also try to do it with a purpose, with a plan, and try to set my environment up for success early on by automating a lot of the money that comes in into different accounts first, so you avoid your ability to make mistakes, because people are impulsive. It's the same thing I say when it comes to studying. If my phone is in the room, I'm going to get distracted. So when I try to study hard, the phone's not in the same room. Same thing with money. If you have problems with spending too much money, make sure the money is not in the same room, meaning get it into the investment accounts right away. Get it into your retirement accounts right away. Put a certain amount automatically into savings, and then what you have left over, that's what you could use. All right. Hope you enjoyed this video. It was a little bit different. I talked a lot about finances. I enjoy this topic, so I'm happy to do more. Maybe I'll even do some financial audits like this if you're an incoming medical student and you're concerned about how you can go about paying for medical school. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.